Ayo, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Ace. This is Fantasized Football. We are back once again, bringing y'all some more fantasy football content for the 2021 fantasy football season. And I'm here today to bring y'all my favorite waiver wire targets for week 13 of the fantasy football season. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. It feels like it's been a little while, but we are back. But before we get into the main event, the meat and potatoes, I did want to give a quick shout out to each and every one of y'all that come by on a weekly basis, showing you boys some love and support, helping the channel to grow. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. I do hope you enjoyed today's video. I do hope you find it helpful. If you do at any point, make sure that you leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. I would appreciate any and all help reaching that goal. If you're already subscribed to the channel, just do a quick double check. Make sure you're still subscribed. I've noticed that YouTube, it does it to me personally, sometimes just unsubscribes you to channels for whatever reason. So just do a double check if you do not mind for me. But with that out of the way, we are here today to bring y'all my favorite waiver wire targets for week 13 of the fantasy football season. Week 12 is done. It is behind us. It is in the books, just like Thanksgiving. And we got to go through quarterback all the way to tight end, DST stream of the week, and then the deep sleepers for y'all in deeper leagues. And we got some heavy hitters this week. We do, in fact, have some heavy hitters this week here in week 13. So without further ado, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to power through this. We're going to start with my quarterback stream of the week, which is going to be Carson Wentz of the Indianapolis Colts, currently rostered in 44.2% of leagues. Now, after a couple bad games, Carson Wentz bounced back this week against Tampa Bay. He had over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And on that note, in 3 of the last 5 games, Carson Wentz has had either over 300 yards or 3 touchdowns. He's got a soft matchup here against Houston, so I like Carson Wentz a lot this week if you need to stream the quarterback position. There's another reason why I like Wentz a lot, but we're going to get to that a little bit later on, so make sure that you stick around, right? I'm not going to give it away to you right here and now. But let's move over to the running back section. The heavy hitters. The heavy hitters here this week. And the first heavy hitter is Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. Currently rostered in 33.4% of leagues. Now, unfortunately, Christian McCaffrey is out for the season. But in the time without Christian McCaffrey, weeks 4 through 8, Chuba Hubbard is averaging 20 touches per game. So the volume was there for Chuba Hubbard. He's the next man up. We've seen what his role is going to be in this offense with Christian McCaffrey out of the lineup, and that's why he is my top priority. It is worth mentioning he is going into his bye this week, but when he comes back, he has a soft matchup against Atlanta. So Chuba Hubbard, based on the workload, based on the longevity with Christian McCaffrey out of the season, is going to be my top waiver priority. But a player that does rival Chuba Hubbard for my top waiver priority is Alexander Madison of the Minnesota Vikings, currently rostered in 33.5% of leagues. Now, here's the thing, right? I like Chuba Hubbard more than Alexander Madison based on the longevity. But just for this week, obviously with Chuba Hubbard on a bye, I like Alexander Madison a lot more. Even if Chuba wasn't on a bye, we've seen Alexander Madison, what he does with Dalvin Cook out of the lineup. Now, I've seen a lot of different reports on Dalvin Cook from the coaching staff and from some reporters, but it seems like he's going to miss like 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. Now, if you look at weeks 3 and 5 without Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison averaged 32 touches for 165 yards, and he scored 1 touchdown in those 2 games. Now, do I expect Alexander Madison to be getting 30 touches and 150-plus yards, scoring a touchdown? No. Well, maybe this week, but no. But I do think he'll at least see upwards of 20 touches a game while Dalvin Cook is out. And he has a matchup against Detroit this week. This is a great opportunity to plug and play Alexander Madison if he is out there, if he is available. If you just need one week, you just need help for a week. Maybe you're a Dalvin Cook manager. You have Chubb, Kareem Hunt on a bye, whatever it may be. Maybe you go with Alexander Madison, but if you need help at running back, like for the rest of the year, for the playoffs, all that, Chuba Hubbard should be your top priority. But there is actually one more running back that slightly trails these two in terms of kind of my priority, but I do still think he is a great option, at least for this week. And we're sticking with this game. It's Jamaal Williams of the Detroit Lions, currently rostered in 44.1% of leagues. Now, DeAndre Swift's going to miss some time. Dan Campbell already came out, the head coach of the Lions, came out and said that DeAndre Swift, he just can't see him playing this week, right? And Jamaal Williams is likely to hop into a 3-down role here for the Detroit Lions. We know he is a very versatile back. He saw 20 touches last week with DeAndre Swift out of the lineup. So Jamaal Williams is another good option. Will he see 20 touches? Maybe not, but I expect him to be somewhere in that 15 to 20 touch range based on what his role should be in the passing game as well. He's got a matchup here against Minnesota. And Minnesota has actually been a good matchup for the running back position, letting up either 90 or more yards or a touchdown to the position in each of the last 3 games. Now, those are my 3 real heavy hitters, but then I do have one more running back for you guys. I feel like I have to mention him here. It's Dontrell Hilliard of the Tennessee Titans, currently rostered in 27.9% of leagues. Now, Dontrell Hilliard has had 11 and 13 touches over these past 2 weeks. He has been involved in this offense, but it's kind of weird. This Tennessee backfield is kind of hard to predict. Both him and Foreman, Deonta Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard, that is, both went for over 100 yards last week, right? But Dontrell Hilliard had over 130 yards and a touchdown on just 13 touches. So he's been very productive, not only this week, but the week prior as well. Now, they are also going into a bye this week, being the Tennessee Titans, but they come out and they face the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who knows if Jeremy McNichols is going to be back or not. Either way, I kind of view him right now as the odd man out here because Foreman and Hilliard have both been so productive. So I do like Dontrell Hilliard a lot here as well. If you can't get your hands on one of Chuba Hubbard, Alexander Madison, or Jamaal Williams. So that kind of wraps up the running backs here. Let's move over to the wide receiver position, and we're going to kind of power through here now because I talked a lot about running backs. The first player I want to talk about is Russell Gage of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, he's currently rostered in 18.5% of leagues. I've talked a lot about Russell Gage over these past few weeks. Not as much as Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is now thankfully rostered in over 70% of leagues after I just hammered it. But we have talked a lot about Russell Gage as well. Now, Russell Gage has averaged 7 targets per game, nearly 7 targets per game over these last 4 games. In these last 4 games, he is holding a 24% target share in this offense. Now, the Falcons' passing game has been a bit cold, been a bit down lately, right? Last week it was more because of the game script, but the previous 2 games, they were just Matt Ryan, the Falcons, the passing game was just not getting it going. But they have a matchup here against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's secondary is exploitable, and as well, I do expect this to be a negative game script, calling for a lot of pass volume from Matt Ryan and the Falcons, which is great for Russell Gage, who has been holding, like I said, a 24% target share in this offense over these last 4 games. He is clearly the top wide receiver option on this team for Matt Ryan, with Calvin Ridley out of the picture. So I like Russell Gage a lot here this week. Now, moving on. This is the one right here. This is the one. T.Y. Hilton of the Indianapolis Colts, currently rostered in 20.2% of leagues. Now, you might be saying, why T.Y. Hilton? Well, he's playing Houston. And this is why I like Carson Wentz so much, right? Now, you may have heard this before. You may have heard announcers talking about it, other fantasy content creators talking about it. But T.Y. Hilton has a crazy history against Houston. I dug a little deeper. I did a little deep dive into what T.Y. Hilton has actually done against Houston in his career. If you look at his averages, he averages over 5 catches, nearly 95 yards, and 0.6 touchdowns per game for his career against Houston. If you look at it in terms of fantasy points, it's about 16 half PPR points per game. So history shows that T.Y. Hilton just blows up against Houston. Earlier this year in Week 6, he went out of the game. I believe it was in the second quarter. He didn't play the second half, but he had 4 targets, 4 catches, and 80 yards back in Week 6. So he's on pace for 8 catches for 120 yards. Who knows? Maybe he scores a touchdown in that game as well. So based on history shows that T.Y. Hilton is going to have a big game here this week against Houston. And that's why I like Carson Wentz too, because if T.Y. Hilton has a big game, then Carson Wentz likely has a big game. He scored last week as well, so I do think T.Y. Hilton is a great plug-and-play option here in Week 13. Now, moving on from T.Y. Hilton, I do have one more wide receiver for y'all. It is Laviska Shenault of the Jacksonville Jaguars, currently rostered in 46.2% of leagues. Now, let's call a spade a spade. Let's be honest. Laviska has stunk this season. He has not been good. We expected a lot of him as a community, but Laviska has not been very good this season. But the good news is that Urban Meyer's come out and said he wants to use him in more creative ways, use him out of the backfield, whatever it may be. Laviska's a big dude. He's a big dude, and he's a talented player. And the volume has actually been there for Laviska Shenault. He saw 9 targets last week. He has now had 8 or more targets in 2 of the last 3 games. He's had 7 or more targets in 6 out of 11 games this season. So the volume has been there. This Jacksonville offense as a whole has stunk. The only kind of bright spot, at least for fantasy, has been James Robinson once again this season. But with the volume being there, I do like Laviska Shenault a lot. I do expect the volume to continue to be there as well. DJ Chark's obviously been out for quite a while. Jamal Agnew's out now. So it's himself, it's Marvin Jones. Somebody's got to catch the ball. So I like Laviska a lot this week as well. But that wraps up the wide receivers. Let's move over to tight end. And the first player I want to talk about is Gerald Everett of the Seattle Seahawks, currently rostered in 4.2% of leagues. Now, listen. I could have taken the easy way out, and I could have just put in Gerald Everett as my tight end in deep sleepers because he's rostered in under 10% of leagues, under 20% of leagues, actually, I should say. But I didn't want to do that because I got someone for you. I got someone for you on the deep sleepers. You might want to stick around for the tight end deep sleeper, even if you're not in a deep league. I'm just saying, might be a diamond in the rough. Nick Vannett, you remember? Nick Vannett scored a touchdown. Just saying. But listen. Gerald Everett here. Gerald Everett had 9 targets last week. He's had 8 or more targets in 2 of the last 3 weeks with Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson has a rapport with Gerald Everett, right? We're starting to see it over these last 3 games. He has been more and more involved. He's developing chemistry with Russell Wilson. He's a talented player, never really got the opportunity when he was over with the Rams, but now here with the Seahawks, it seems like Russell Wilson, the Seahawks offense, are giving Gerald Everett a chance to shine. So I like Gerald Everett a lot if you need help at the tight end position. But if you're not feeling Gerald Everett, you can't get him, whatever it may be, I have another tight end for y'all. Listen, I got 2 tight ends here for you. Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears, currently rostered in 12.3% of leagues. Listen, I could have taken the easy way out again, but I didn't. You know why I didn't? Because I got a good one for y'all in the deep sleepers at tight end. I'm telling you, I'm hyping this up big time. Cole Kmet, Chicago Bears, currently rostered in 12.3% of leagues. He saw 11 targets last week. He had 11 targets, 8 catches for 65 yards. He's had 6 or more targets in 4 of the last 5 games. So the role has been there for Cole Kmet, right? He's getting more involved in this offense, right? He's a tight end with a pulse. That's what we're looking for, right? When we're looking to stream the tight end position, when we're looking to find kind of a fill-in at the position, whatever it may be for a few weeks, for the season, whatever it may be off the waiver wires, what we're looking for is a player that's either seeing volume or is being involved around the end zone, kind of a touchdown or bust player or a player that is seeing volume on a consistent basis, and the volume has been there for Cole Kmet. So I like Gerald Everett, and I like Cole Kmet at tight end. Now it's time to move on to the DST stream of the week. And listen, I should have just been doing this for the past 4 weeks. I should have never stopped. I've had them. It's the DST stream of the week, 2 of the last 4 weeks, and we're back again. Miami, baby. Fins up, baby. Listen, the Dolphins might not lose a game for the rest of the season. Knock on wood. They might not lose the game the rest of the season, go 10-7, and make the playoffs. Dolphins defense is playing great. Miami Dolphins, DST stream of the week, currently rostered in 43.5% of leagues. Another doozy from the Fins last week. They look great. The defense looks great. If you look at the last 4 games, they're holding teams to under 12 points allowed on average, nearly 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and they've had 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games. They have been on fire, and they have a matchup here this week against the Giants. The Giants have not broken 17 points in that same span of time. In these last 4 games, they have not broken 17 points, and they're averaging nearly 2 turnovers a game. This is another great opportunity for the Miami Dolphins defense to have a big game. So if you need to stream a DST here in Week 13, it is the Miami Dolphins for me. Yeah. Fins up, baby. Fins up. That's it. All right. Moving on. Deep sleepers, right? Don't forget, stick around for the tight end. Listen, we're going to power through this, right? First off, quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, currently rostered in 19.3% of leagues of the Denver Broncos. Now, there's not a lot out there. A lot of fantasy managers are rostering 2 quarterbacks at this point in the season, unfortunately. But Teddy Bridgewater was my favorite option out there, available in less than 20% of leagues. Now, I like the matchup here. Teddy Bridgewater also has not thrown a pick for 4 weeks. He's going up against Kansas City. Kansas City does have an exploitable secondary, and I do expect a negative game script here for the Broncos. I expect the Chiefs to control this game. And in games that the Broncos have lost this season, Teddy Bridgewater is averaging 39 pass attempts a game, excluding Week 4, where he did have to leave the game with a concussion. So when the Broncos are losing games, they rely on Bridgewater more. They allow Bridgewater to kind of let loose a bit more. And like I said, I expect a negative game script here for the Broncos. So I do like Teddy Bridgewater as kind of a deeper league streaming option. Now, moving over to running back, there's not a whole hell of a lot here. We had all the heavy hitters in the main portion here, but I do have a couple guys here for you. Amir Abdullah being one. I did mention him briefly earlier, of the Carolina Panthers, currently rostered in 0.3% of leagues. He's technically free at this point, right? Now, CMC is obviously out for the season. I do expect Chuba Hubbard to kind of lead the charge here for the Carolina Panthers, but Amir Abdullah should play in kind of a complementary role. He's already been involved over these past few weeks, actually. He's had 4 more targets in 4 of the last 5 games, so maybe he sees a little bit of work in the passing game as well. So I think he's kind of, what you can kind of expect from him is a little work in the passing game, 3 to 5 targets, maybe 4 or 5 carries, maybe 5 to 7 carries at that, if they're kind of in a better situation, whatever it may be. But I think he's at least worth a shot in deep leagues. Again, like I mentioned with Chuba Hubbard, he is going into his bye this week. But again, probably just worth a shot. If you need help at running back in a deeper league, you're kind of just looking for a player with a pulse, with some upside to get some opportunity. But another running back that has been seeing more opportunity is Matt Breida of the Buffalo Bills, currently rostered in 5.6% of leagues. Now, the Bills have been shaking things up a little bit. They've been sitting Zach Moss, healthy scratching Zach Moss for whatever reason, and they've been using Matt Breida. He had 11 touches last week. He had 6 touches and 6 touches the 2 weeks prior to that. So he's getting more involved. I mean, himself, Devin Singletary, they're kind of the 2 guys right now. So I think Matt Breida is at least worth a shot. They've been using him around the end zone as well. He scored 3 touchdowns in these last 3 games. So I do think he's at least worth a shot. If you're in a deeper league, you're just looking for a guy with a pulse here, kind of like what I always say at tight end. So Matt Breida, Amir Abdullah, 2 guys that you kind of you're just throwing the dot at, seeing what sticks, right? Now, moving over to wide receiver, the player I want to talk about first is DeSean Jackson of the Las Vegas Raiders, currently rostered in 2.6% of leagues. We had a DeSean Jackson week, right? It was very DeSean Jackson-esque stat line, 4 targets, 3 catches, over 100 yards, and a touchdown. Somebody needs to step up on this Raiders team. I've been saying this for weeks. Somebody's got to step up. Unfortunately, Bryan Edwards hasn't stepped up very much. He was a player I liked a lot ever since the Ruggs incident, especially in terms of a deep threat. The Raiders really need a deep threat here. With obviously, don't want to get too much into it, but with the Henry Ruggs situation. And DeSean Jackson, throughout his career, has been a great option as a deep threat. Now we have Darren Waller injured, probably going to miss a couple weeks. They're calling him week to week right now. So there's plenty of room for DeSean Jackson to carve out a role here in this offense. So I do think he's at least worth an ad. He's got a matchup against Washington here in week 13. Revenge game for DeSean Jackson. Yep. It's technically a revenge game. So I think DeSean Jackson's at least worth an ad. But if you're not really feeling DeSean Jackson, the other wide receiver I have for y'all is Josh Reynolds of the Detroit Lions, currently rostered in 0.3% of leagues. Now, he had 5 targets, 3 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown here in week 12. But he played in 89% of the team's snaps over the last 2 weeks. Now, Josh Reynolds has a history with Jared Goff from the days with the Rams. So I think he has a legitimate opportunity to take over as the number 1 wide receiver in this offense based on his history with Jared Goff and how involved he has been in the offense over these past 2 weeks. Now, the ceiling, the upside is obviously capped with Jared Goff, with the Detroit Lions offense. But getting a number 1 receiver here this deep into the season, if you're in a deeper league, I think he is at least worth a shot, worth a speculative ad in deeper leagues. But that wraps up the wide receivers. And now, what you all been waiting for, my tight end. The tight end that we've been talking about. Whoa, oh my God. Who is it? Who might it be? Foster Moreau. Of the Las Vegas Raiders, currently rostered in 0.6% of leagues. Foster, baby. Foster. Like I just mentioned with DeSean Jackson, Darren Waller is now week to week. Somebody's got to step up. Foster Moreau did see 5 targets last week. He did absolutely nothing with them, but he saw 5 targets with Darren Waller out. Now, if you remember, back in what week was it? I have it written down here. Week 7 without Waller. Foster Moreau had 6 targets, 6 catches, 60 yards. And you know what else he did? He went for 6. The boy likes them 6s. 6 targets, 6 catches, 60 yards and a touchdown without Darren Waller in week 7. Somebody's going to step up. Foster Moreau is the next man up at tight end. Does Derek Carr just like targeting Darren Waller, or does he like targeting the tight end position as a whole? We don't really know, but in a small sample size based on last week, based on week 7, he had 6 and 5 targets. So I like Foster Moreau. If you're in a deeper league, I do think Foster Moreau has the potential, has the upside to be a starter for you in these next few weeks until Darren Waller comes back. But that wraps everything up. That is it. That is all. That is all there is. There is our Week 13 waivers brought to you by Ace of Fantasized Football. I do hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did at any point, make sure that you leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the fantasy football season. But we are done. Actually, no, we're not. Follow my socials. Links will be down in the description below. Thanks. But now we're done. Me, my boy, we're out. We will catch y'all next time. And as always, thank you, love you, peace.